Hello and welcome to Idea TV News Update. I am Chinatu Oji. We begin with the headlines. AIIB approves $200 million to modernize BENIN'S greatest NOKOUÉ transport system. Algeria and Egypt launch direct shipping routes to triple trade flows. Zambia launches national strategy to protect children online. Guinea approves $34.5 million digital strategy for vocational training. President TINUBU nominates 32 additional ambassadors away from Africa. Venezuela condemns Trump's threat to close its airspace. In business, impact funds now manage up to $80 billion across Africa. In health, measles cases drop. Ethiopia responds to Marburg, cholera and spread in DRC. In sport, Messi leads Inter Miami to MLS Cup final against MULLER'S Vancouver Whitecaps. Now the news in full. The Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, AIIB, has approved a $200 million loan to support Benin's Greater NOKOUÉ Sustainable Urban Mobility Project, a major effort to overhaul transport in the country's economic hub. Co-funded with the World Bank's IDA, the project will upgrade key routes, introduce public buses, deploy smart traffic management systems, and expand lagoon transport to ease movement across the region. A key component focuses on integrating informal transport workers, including motorcycle taxi operators and minibus drivers, tupa through training and a gradual shift to electric motorbikes. Greater NOKOUÉ, home to 2.6 million people and responsible for more than a third of Benin's GDP, faces severe congestion on safe routes and worsening pollution, driven partly by low-quality fuel imports. With the population projected to hit 3 million by 2030, officials say the reforms are crucial to building a cleaner, safer and more efficient urban transport system. Algeria and Egypt have agreed to open the direct maritime route between the ports of Algiers and Alexandria, aiming to streamline cargo movement and push bilateral trade toward a $5 billion target in the coming years, announced during the Algerian-Egyptian Business Forum held alongside the ninth Joint Cooperation Committee meetings. The new link is expected to accelerate already rising trade volumes. Bilateral trade grew by 18% from $872 million in 2023 to over $1 billion in 2024, with both countries projecting further growth this year. The initiative aligns with broader African integration goals under the AFCFTA as both nations seek deeper economic ties. Egypt in particular aims to boost its intra-African trade by 20% by 2029. The momentum also follows renewed progress on major regional infrastructure projects, including the second phase of the Victoria-Mediterranean VIC-MED corridor designed to connect East Africa to the Mediterranean and strengthen logistics across the continent. Meanwhile, Zambia has unveiled the National Child Online Protection Strategy 2025 to 2029 to safeguard young internet users as digital adoption rises. The government allocated $1.8 million to the plan, which prioritizes stronger policy coordination, digital skills training, public awareness, and collaboration among government, private sector, and civil society. The move follows growing concerns about cyberbullying, exploitation, and harmful content affecting African youths. In October 2025, UNICEF and GSMA launched the African Task Force on Child Online Protection to harmonize digital safety standards across the continent. Though Zambia lacks extensive data on children's internet habits, authorities note increasing youth connectivity and the urgency of preventive measures. By adopting the strategy, Zambia joins Nigeria and Ghana, which already have national child cybersecurity frameworks. Meanwhile, Guinea has adopted a $300 billion GNF, that's $34.5 million national strategy to digitally transform its technical and vocational education system. The plan, approved at a workshop in Conakry, aims to modernize curricula, upgrade digital infrastructure, strengthen teacher skills, and expand access to online learning. Aligned with SDG for Quality Education and Guinea's Vision 2035, the strategy seeks to make technical training a driver of youth employment and entrepreneurship. Funding will support improved connectivity, digital equipment for training centers, teacher upskilling, and new e-learning platforms. The initiative positions Guinea with a broader pan-African effort to digitize vocational training as the continent faces rising demand for digital skills. Brookings estimates that by 2030, 230 million jobs in sub-Saharan Africa will require digital competencies, creating up to 650 million training opportunities worth $130 billion. Successful implementation will depend on reliable financing, stronger governance, teacher readiness and access to electricity, and of course high-speed internet, especially in rural areas. Let's now take this break. The news continues on the other side.
In the past, gas stations had an awkward problem. Customers had no idea when their tank was full, often causing gasoline to spill everywhere. Engineers came up with a clever solution. They invented a fuel nozzle that could automatically stop using a very simple principle. When a fuel truck refills an underground tank, a valve automatically shuts off as the tank nears full, and the gasoline vapors are drawn back into the truck through another hose, condensing back into liquid fuel. When customers fill their cars, the gasoline first passes through multiple pipes and filters before reaching the nozzle. Modern fuel nozzles are like tiny technological marbles. Inside, there's a thin tube that draws air from the car's tank into a membrane chamber. When you pull the trigger, fuel flows until the tube is submerged, cutting off the airflow. This creates a vacuum that pulls three
Kayode and Otumba Femi Pedro and former First Ladies Erelu Angela Adebayo and Fatima Florence Ajimobi. Others on the list include Barrister Bonaya Kalu, Tasio Musa Meigari, Paul Ogadiku, and Kechilinda Forchuku. Career ambassador nominees include Enebechi, Monica Okuchuku, Yakubu Nyaku Danladi, Miamuna Ibrahim Besto, Musa Bubakar, Sidov Peibi Ndoni, Chima Geoffrey, Leoma David, Mopelula Adeola Ibrahim, and others across various states. Once confirmed, the new ambassadors are expected to be posted to strategic countries such as China, India, South Korea, Canada, Mexico, UAE, Qatar, South Africa, Kenya, and to international missions including the UN, UNESCO, and the African Union. Last week, the president had also sent 3 nominees, Ambassador Ayodele Oke, Ambassador Amin Mohamed Danlatu, and retired Colonel Latif Kayode, for screening who may be posted to the UK, USA, or France. President Tinubu stated that more ambassadorial nominations will be announced soon. And now away from Africa, Venezuela has sharply condemned U.S. President Donald Trump, claimed that the airspace above the country should be considered closed, calling it an illegal and unjustified aggression. Caracas stressed that the U.S. has no authority to restrict another nation's airspace, labeling Trump's remarks as a colonialist threat. The comments come amid heightened U.S. military activity in the region. Washington has carried out at least 21 strikes on boats it says were involved in drug trafficking claims, Venezuela disputes, and has deployed the USS Gerald Ford and around 15,000 troops near Venezuelan territory. Trump has warned that operations to halt drug trafficking by land will begin soon. U.S. lawmakers from both parties have criticized Trump for escalating tensions without congressional approval. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said the president is pushing the U.S. closer to another costly foreign war, while Republican Majority Taylor Greene echoed that Congress alone has the power to declare war. Trump's statement followed an FAA warning to airlines about increased military activity around Venezuela, prompting multiple carriers to suspend flights. Caracas responded by revoking their takeoff and landing rights. Venezuela has urged the UN and international community to reject what it called an immoral act of aggression and showcased military exercises along its coastline. The U.S. says its deployment is aimed at combating drug trafficking, but Venezuela argues the real goal is to remove President Nicolas Maduro, who disputed re-election last year, was widely denounced as fraudulent. And now in health. Global measles cases have fallen nearly 80% since 2000, from 38 million to 11 million, saving an estimated 58 million lives. That's dropped from 780,000 to 95,000, according to WHO. But Africa remains the least protected region, with only 71% vaccination coverage and more than half of the world's unvaccinated children. Ethiopia has, however, introduced a hepatitis B birth dose vaccine to protect 3.8 million newborns annually, aiming for 80% national coverage. The country is also responding to its first Marburg outbreak with 11 cases and 6 deaths reported. Isolation centers have been set up in Jinka and Hawassa, and 349 contacts are under monitoring. Senegal has confirmed 505 Rift Valley fever cases across 11 regions, with St. Louis hardest hit. Morocco is warning citizens against unlicensed psychological practitioners offering therapy without proper training, urging stricter oversight. Madagascar has also launched a digital childhood anemia screening program in 26 facilities as the country battles high rates of iron deficiency anemia among children under 5. Low vaccination coverage, insecurity and cold chain failures are fueling the surge, with more than 640 suspected cholera cases and 20 deaths have been recorded in Moba districts, with lake-dependent communities most affected. And now in business, impact investment funds active in Africa manage $70 to $80 billion in assets, with nearly half operating exclusively on the continent, according to a new report from the Foundation for International Development Study and Research, FREDI. The updated 2025 mapping identified 250 impact funds that combine financial returns with measurable social and environmental outcomes. Of the 195 funds with available data, 124 invest only in Africa, underscoring the sector's growing continental footprint. Using detailed disclosures from 81 investors and public data for the rest, researchers estimate African impact AUM could range from $59 billion to $111 billion, depending on fund exposure. The central estimate aligns with GIIN's global findings, which puts Africa's share about 6% of global impact assets, although these figures reflect total assets under management, not nearly flows. Annual capital deployed in Africa is estimated at $10 to $16 billion, still under 1% of the region's GDP. The study shows a broad geographic spread, with funds domiciled in 46 countries, including 32 in Africa. Africa-based funds represent nearly 40% of all vehicles and manage close to 60% of the continent's impact access. South Africa stands out as a regional heavyweight. Its 27 funds, almost all fully Africa-focused, control 43% of all impact investment assets deployed over the continent. The U.S. remains the single largest source of fund domiciles, followed by South Africa and the Netherlands. And finally, in sports, Inter Miami and the Vancouver Whitecaps will meet in their first ever MLS Cup final on Saturday, 6 December, after dominant victories in their conference finals. Miami trashed New York City 5-1, with Lionel Messi providing an assist and Sadio Allende scoring a hat-trick to secure the Eastern Conference title. Matteo Silvestri and Telesco Segovia added the other goals in Fort Lauderdale. Messi, now 38, extended his record to 13 goal contributions in the playoffs, 6 goals with 7 assists. Coach Javier Mascherano praised him as extraordinary and said the assist for Miami's third goal sealed the game. In the Western Conference Final, the Vancouver Whitecaps beat San Diego FC 3-1. Brian White scored twice, an own goal added a second, and despite having Lozano's replied, Vancouver controlled the tie. Former Bayern Munich star Thomas Muller has scored 8 goals in 11 MLS games since arriving in August. Looking ahead to the final, Muller dismissed the idea of a personal showdown as both teams chase their first MLS Cup title. That's the most we can take on Idea TV News Update, but before we go, here's a recap of the headlines. AIIB approves $200 million to modernize BENIN'S greater NOKOUÉ transport system. Algeria and Egypt launch direct shipping routes to triple trade flows. Zambia launches national strategy to protect children online. Guinea approves $34.5 million digital strategy for vocational training. President TINUBU nominates 32 additional ambassadors away from Africa. Venezuela condemns Trump's threat to close its airspace. In business, impact funds now manage up to $80 billion across Africa. Do not forget, follow us across the different social media platforms at Idea TV. I am Chinatu Oji. Thank you for your time.